Hello and welcome to Uncensored Conservatism. This is episode number 356, going around the United States with some stories you may or may not have heard of. So let's just start here with this is fine looking specimen of human life. It's Joshua Cottrell of Kentucky. He was captured after an intense manhunt after he apparently killed a 37-year-old woman and her daughter. Police had gone to the house on a welfare check at the victim. He was later found in a hospital being treated for injuries he suffered during the violent attack. Game wardens in Maine had to move quickly after a moose fell into an abandoned well on a property up there. The moose was sedated, and they used an excavator to lift the moose out of the well. The property owner did not know that the well existed on his property, and it has since been sealed up to make sure that no other moose fall into it. By the way, the moose, when it came to from sedation, ran off and did moose things. In Vermont, Bernie Sanders is still alive, but he's looking for a new family doctor. Atasha Banks in Alaska went missing 2 years ago, and now her body has been found. A apparent victim of homicide. Now, my wife tells me Montana is a state that wants you dead. Alaska is a state that actually kills you. West Virginia Governor Patrick Morrisey announced that the state is divesting their pension funds from all Chinese companies. He says that China is America's number one geopolitical rival, and he's actually right. Meanwhile, we have idiots on college campuses, the boycott, divest, and sanction movement that wants to do the same thing with Israel. An ally, not a geopolitical rival. Go figure. The left. A Massachusetts man pled guilty to sexual assault on many women as young as 15 years old. Apparently, he would use his status as a Uber driver, bring them back to his house, and get them high on pot and drunk on alcohol. His wife also participated in the shenanigans. One victim was their daughter, by the way. What he would do is he would have his victims perform sexual acts on each other while he and his wife fucked in the same room. I mean, it's a weird way to get your jollies. I mean, I guess that's the only way you could get it up. I don't know. Okay, so speaking of some sick people, this is Aaron Thomas. He's a former high school basketball coach in Rhode Island. He was sentenced to 1 year probation after a jury trial. What he did was, to determine body fat on his players, he would have them stripped naked, and he would examine them for body fat. He's got 1 year probation for that. He should be I don't know what the hell's going on there. Anyway, San Francisco is being literally terrorized by a squirrel who has attacked 5 people and sent 2 of them to the hospital. Now, squirrels do not carry rabies. That's a scientific fact. So nobody has to worry about that. What had happened was the people who were hospitalized had some severe scratches from this little dude. Anyway, flyers are going up telling people to beware of the attacking squirrel. And unlike New York, where they captured Peanut and cut his head off to determine if he had rabies, even though they know squirrels do not carry rabies, California gaming officials says that they would capture it and put it somewhere in the wild, get it the hell out of San Francisco. All right, so the Rio Grande Gorge Bridge in New Mexico has been closed to pedestrian traffic. The very scenic bridge is the scene of 3 suicides in the past 3 weeks. There have been 6 suicides so far this year, which is a lot. Anyway, it was determined that they may be putting up either fencing to keep people from jumping or putting nets below it to catch them if they do jump. It's generally believed you cannot survive a jump from the bridge. It's over a 600-foot drop and very rocky terrain. Xcel Energy has agreed to pay the state of Colorado $640 million in an out-of-court settlement for the 2021 Marshall Fire, which destroyed 6,000 acres and 1,100 homes. The fire was believed to be from a spark from wires maintained by Xcel Energy. This after $2 billion in insurance claims, according to state officials. Jason Dickerson won a state Senate runoff race in Georgia over Deborah Shigley. Forcing a runoff gave Democrats hope, and I think the DNC head, Ken Martin, went down there. She ran on an anti-Trump agenda. You know, if it's Trump, then I'm against it type thing. Anyway, she lost, so much for those hopes. Two students at Syracuse University in New York were charged with a hate crime after they broke into Zeta Beta Tau fraternity, a traditionally Jewish fraternity, during Rosh Hashanah as the frat brothers got ready for a meal and threw pork. For this, they were arrested for a hate crime. Jessica Mouth in Pennsylvania was arrested after 4 dead newborns were found in her house by the landlord after she was evicted in August. The landlord had gone in to clean out the apartment when he discovered the bodies, which were located in either trash bags or tote bags. She's believed to have given birth to 4 of these newborns over a 6-year period, which leads me to question, why would somebody fuck that? A year ago, a Burmese python in Florida managed to regurgitate a partially digested full deer. Now, gaming wildlife officials in Florida are sharing this quote-unquote beautiful experience on video that they took of the elusive python throwing up a partially digested full deer. In Hawaii, Mazie Hirono, just batshit crazy. Louisiana officials have confirmed that 5 people so far this year have died from a flesh-eating bacteria. The bacteria is, you can get infected with it through an open cut or sore when swimming in coastal waters, and also from eating contaminated clams and oysters. 2 of the deaths are linked to contaminated oysters, which gives me another reason to not like oysters. Washington Governor Bob Ferguson is saying that the state faces a $903 million revenue shortfall through 2026 due to declining tax revenues. I think maybe their stupid state laws and energy policy may have something to do with it, but Ferguson and other state officials are doing the usual. It's all Trump's fault. It's a nice story out of Utah where $30 million in donations have allowed for the expansion of a housing project for the chronically homeless people. There are 32 units currently occupied so far in the development, and the $30 million is expected to build another 60 units. So that's actually pretty good. So some idiot down in Dallas, Texas decided that he was going to shoot up an ICE facility, apparently kill some ICE agents, and shot through a van and managed to kill 2 detainees. Of course, this was portrayed as some right-wing violence because he killed the detainees, even though, you know, he was probably aiming for the ICE agents and had anti-ICE things written on his bullet casings. But yeah, that was right-wing violence, you know. This is Monette Catrice Hinson of Alabama. An official says she has 1 week for a plea deal, or else she's going to go to trial when she's accused of killing her neighbor, a fellow black person, and thank God it's black on black crime here, when she hit him in the head with a space heater. The argument was over money, they say. The lawyers say he was not killed by the space heater, that he had previous medical conditions, like, you know, being susceptible to getting a space heater slapped upside your head. Alright, so this is some dude with 4 names. I'm not going to go. He was a teaching assistant in South Carolina, and he used fart spray in class. Several students had to see doctors as a result, and apparently the fart spray caused $50,000 in damage to the school's air conditioning units. He's due in court on October 15th, and I can't wait to hear that testimony. I don't know what the hell he was thinking. Okay, John Husted and Vivek Ramaswamy shared endorsements. Husted was appointed to the Senate to replace Marco Rubio, who went on to J.D. Vance, who went on to bigger and better things. Vivek Ramaswamy is running for governor. Husted was supposed to run for governor, that's what everybody thought, but now he's running for the Senate. So they have now endorsed each other for the roles they're running for. So that was a show of mutual love out there in Ohio. All right, Trey Reed. This is Trey Reed of Mississippi. He was found hanging in a tree in Mississippi. Oh God, Mississippi, black guy hanging in a tree. It has to have been a lynching. Nope. It seems that, according to the official coroner's report, it was a suicide. With Ben Crump on the scene, the family is now demanding an independent autopsy to determine the correct cause of death, which they believe is a lynching. Firefighters in Boulder City, Nevada are battling a fire at a solar energy facility. It's the second time this year the facility has had a fire. Officials are finding it difficult to extinguish the flames at a solar facility. Okay, so North Carolina passed Arena's law in the aftermath of her killing. She was a Ukrainian refugee who came to the United States to get away from the war over there, whereupon this dude on the right there randomly stabbed her in the neck on a transit train as she was going home from her low-paying job at a pizza joint or something. Anyway, the bill will tighten bail requirements, require psychological or psychiatric evaluations on certain suspects, and left the door open for executions in the future, although we'll have to see about that. Okay, this is Rosalinda Vaca on the left there, and she killed Michelle Hedrick, shown there on the right, when she hit her with her car as Hedrick was crossing the street to return to her apartment. This was a hit-and-run accident. Vaca later told police she knew she hit something, she just didn't know it was a human. By the way, Hedrick was 22 weeks pregnant at the time. Ryan Easley in Oklahoma was killed by a tiger in front of a live audience and his wife and kid when the tiger turned on him and mauled him to death. Police are looking for a motive as to why the tiger, which he raised as a cub, killed Easley. I think it has something to do with the fact that tigers are wild animals that like to eat things in the jungle. And I guess he just saw his handler as the latest food. Not too hard to figure this one out. Okay, William called me Sarah McBride, shown there on the right, is a Congress critter from Delaware, and that's just an ugly man. And that's its, I don't know, boyfriend? I don't know. Whatever it is. But that's not going to last because McBride is taller than that little dweeb on the left there. This is Shakir Everett of Lansing, Michigan. Hailed as a hero by some when a classmate brought in a loaded gun. He, being familiar with guns, took it to class, took it away from that kid, and disassembled it in a classroom, then hid it in a heater so that nobody would find it or get hurt by it. He also threw away the bullets. Now he's expelled from school because of his actions. The mother is trying to find another school for him to enroll. A wind farm in Laramie County, Wyoming is coming under opposition from residents in the area. The county recently rejected a 56,000 acre plant that would have included 170 turbines to be built by Repsol, a company from Spain. The state of Wyoming is intent on building more wind farms, so this sets up a showdown between the state and local government. Roy Ward is scheduled to be executed on October 10th in Indiana. He was convicted, I think in 2001, for the rape and murder of a 15-year-old Stacy Payne. The rape and murder were witnessed by the girl's sister, who called the police. When they arrived, he was met at the door dripping in the victim's blood. Now lawyers are appealing before the state clemency board that he should be spared the death penalty because of claims that he is on the autism spectrum, because everybody on the autism spectrum rapes and kills 15-year-olds. Jesus Christ. Okay, so people in Minnesota have been dumping their pet goldfish into lakes around there, and they grow to incredible size. Now, you know this, but goldfish will adapt to their surroundings. The bigger their surroundings, the bigger they get, and they're having an effect on indigenous species, fish in the lakes of Minnesota, which is known as the land of lakes. Anyway, zoo officials are now catching the rogue goldfish and feeding them to bears in zoos. So, kind of cool thing to do. Republican Representative Tom Tiffany of Wisconsin has decided he will run for governor of that state in 2026. Current Democratic Governor Tony Evers announced in July that he would not seek another term, leaving an open race. The Trump administration followed through on threats against the state of Kansas and froze $10 million in food stamp funds over non-receipt of recipient data. Kansas Democratic Governor Laura Healy refuses, or I forget what her name is, Laura Kelly refuses to turn over that data, citing privacy concerns. Anyway, the state appealed immediately, so any beneficiary will continue to receive these benefits in Kansas while this works its way out. In Montana, state fish and wildlife officials are saying that it appears that blue tongue disease is killing white-tailed deer in the northwestern part of the state, and antelope, mule deer, and white-tailed deer in the southeastern part of the state along the Yellowstone migration trails. The disease is caused by midge bites, which are small insects. It is not contagious with humans or amongst deer. No foul play. Alright, so this weirdo from Iowa walked into a shower and sexually assaulted his 67-year-old mother. Forensic evidence suggests that rape was involved. I mean, come on, man, it's your mom. Jesus. Get those hormones under control, dude. And finally, and in good news, South Dakota lost yet another Democratic state legislator when Perry Poirier switched parties and became a Republican. She is a Sioux Indian, a member of the Lakota tribe, and represents, I believe it's several Indian reservations in South Dakota. She says the decision was hard, but she came to the conclusion that the Republican Party and their policies more align with tribal sovereignty. So already Republicans led in the legislature 65-5, now it's 66-4. So politically it made no difference, but it's a win for the Republicans. And that's it for today. Have a great day. More pleasant tomorrow.